Educate yourself every day and stay ahead of. Chapter 1. Why this matters more than ever. They won't tell you this, but most people stop learning the moment they finish school. Not because they know everything, but because they think they've learned enough to survive. That's the truth. And that's exactly why they get stuck. Why their dreams fade. Why their potential slowly dies in silence. But you're not one of them. You're here. You clicked this. You're listening because something inside you knows you're meant for more. This audiobook isn't about learning a few tips. It's about rewiring the way you live. It's about building a mindset so sharp that it slices through mediocrity like a blade. You don't need permission. You don't need a degree. All you need is a choice. Educate yourself every day, and once you make that choice, you'll move faster, think deeper, and grow stronger than 99% of people around you. If you're serious about becoming better every single day, stay with me. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single chapter of this journey. This isn't just another audiobook. This is your turning point. Let's begin. Most people don't even realize they've been conditioned to stop growing. They finish school, get a job, and the learning curve drops to zero. But the world doesn't stop moving. Technology evolves, ideas evolve, people evolve, and if you're not learning, you're falling behind. Fast. Now think of the top 1% of people in any field. They aren't superhuman. They just decided to keep learning when others got comfortable. They read when others scrolled. They asked questions when others stayed silent. They watched, listened, studied when no one was watching. That's not luck. That's not privilege. That's habit. Learning is not a task, it's a mindset. And once you make it your lifestyle, it transforms everything. Look around you. The people who succeed, really succeed, don't wait for a school or course to teach them. They teach themselves every single day. They don't see education as a phase of life. They see it as life itself. And this is where the real gap begins. Not in talent, not in intelligence, but in consistency. The average person reads less than one book a year. The top 1%, they devour books, podcasts, interviews, documentaries, not all at once but every day. They know that 5 pages a day adds up to hundreds of pages a month. 10 minutes of learning every morning compounds into wisdom over time. That's the math of mastery. That's how quiet effort becomes loud success. But it's not just about gathering knowledge. It's about transforming your mind. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. And that's the secret weapon. Humility, curiosity, growth. The moment you think you've arrived, you stop growing. But the moment you decide to never stop learning, you become unstoppable. Learning every day is not always exciting. Some days you won't feel like it. Some days it'll feel slow, pointless, tiring. That's fine. Do it anyway. That's where the discipline kicks in. That's where the transformation begins. Because true learning is not about feeling good, it's about becoming better. And here's the truth. When you educate yourself every day, something inside you changes. Your words get sharper. Your mind gets quicker. Your confidence gets real. Not loud, not fake, but deep, unshakable. You start walking into rooms and people notice, not because you're showing off, but because you've got something rare, depth. Most people are running after surface-level success, money, fame, followers. But when you choose to go deep, when you choose to build yourself from the inside, you automatically rise above. You become the one people come to, the one who knows, the one who grows. You won't need to prove anything. Your results will speak, your mindset will lead, and your presence will shift the atmosphere. So ask yourself, are you willing to put in that daily work? Are you ready to outgrow your past self every single day? This audiobook will not make you better in one day, but it will help you become better every day. That's the real edge. That's the secret to staying ahead. Not by leaps, but by steps. Small, consistent steps in the right direction. every day. That's how you stay ahead of 99% of people. Not because you're lucky, because you're intentional. So today, make the decision to learn, to grow, to rise. And don't forget, subscribe and stay on this journey. Because the next chapter, that's where we start building your daily learning habit from scratch. Let's go deeper. Chapter 2, Build Daily Learning Habit Like a Lifestyle. The most successful people in the world don't wait for motivation. They don't wake up every day hoping to feel inspired. They build systems, they create habits. And real learning, isn't something they squeeze into their life. It is their life. If you want to stay ahead of 99% of people, you can't treat learning like a weekend hobby. It has to become as normal as brushing your teeth, as natural as eating, as automatic as breathing. Because when learning becomes a part of your lifestyle, you stop chasing success. You start attracting it. Let's break something right now. This isn't about forcing yourself to study like you're in school again. This is about rewiring your routine, making growth a non-negotiable. Most people think they're too busy to learn. But if you look at their day, they've got hours of screen time, endless scrolling, and conversations that lead nowhere. The truth is they're not too busy. They're just not intentional. You don't need 3 hours a day. You need 30 minutes of focused input. You need a rhythm. And that rhythm starts with design, not discipline, not willpower. Design. Here's how you do it. You set a time and place. You attach your learning habit to something you already do, like after your morning coffee or before bed. You don't leave it to chance. You create a trigger. When that trigger hits, your learning starts. Over time, your brain stops resisting. It just follows the script. This is how habits form. Not by doing things when you feel like it, but by repeating them until they become who you are. Wake up, read 5 pages. Walking. Listen to a podcast. On a break, watch a deep dive video. End of the day, journal what you learned. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. Even on bad days. Even when you're tired. Especially then. Because here's the magic. Once your identity shifts to I'm someone who learns every day, you don't fight with yourself anymore. You follow through because it's who you are. Look at elite athletes. Look at great thinkers. Look at entrepreneurs who keep evolving year after year. Their edge isn't luck. It's habit. It's choosing to grow when it's boring. Showing up when there's no applause. Learning when others are relaxing. It's quiet work, invisible work, but it stacks. Every chapter you read, every idea you absorb, every reflection you make, it all builds something you can't see right away. But one day, you walk into a room, say a few words, and everyone turns to listen. That's the effect of years of quiet learning. But for that to happen, you have to remove the pressure. Don't try to become a master overnight. Just learn something, one thing every single day. Here's the secret. It's not about learning more. It's about learning better. Start small. Stay consistent. Build momentum. If you can give your brain even 1% growth a day, it compounds into transformation. And when others slow down, you speed up. Not because you're working harder, but because your habits are working for you. That's the lifestyle you're building. Let's talk about content now. Not all information is created equal. Your learning diet matters. Just like junk food makes your body sluggish, junk content makes your mind slow. If you're consuming meaningless entertainment all day, don't expect clarity. Start curating your inputs. Choose books that stretch your mind, podcasts that open new perspectives, people that challenge your thinking. Remove what drains you. Double down on what builds you. Your brain is a sponge. It absorbs what you feed it. So feed it wisely. Make your learning environment sacred. Have a space where you go to grow. Maybe it's a chair in the corner, your desk, a park bench, wherever. But train your brain to recognize. This is the place where I expand. No noise, no scrolling, just focus. Over time, That space becomes your mental gym. And like the body, the more you train, the stronger you get. The sharper you become. And suddenly, you're making decisions faster. Speaking clearer, creating better. That's what daily education does. One more thing. Track your growth. Keep a journal. Write down one insight a day. Just one. After a week, read them back. You'll be shocked at how much you've grown. Not just in knowledge, but in awareness. This is how you stay ahead. Not with massive effort, but with intentional effort. Not with pressure, but with presence. Not in bursts, but in rhythm. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to become someone. Someone who doesn't just consume. Someone who applies. Someone who reflects. Someone who teaches. Because the final stage of learning is sharing. When you can explain it, simplify it, and teach it, you've mastered it. And that's when your lifestyle of learning becomes legacy. Others begin to look to you. Not because you said you're great, but because you've become it. So today, don't wait for the perfect course, the perfect time, or the perfect system. Start with what you have, where you are, and fully commit to making education a daily lifestyle. Chapter 3. Why most people stop growing after school. There's a silent epidemic in the world. It doesn't make headlines, it doesn't scream on social media, but it's everywhere. It's in your workplace, it's in your community, it's in the mirror if you're not careful. It's called mental stagnation. And it begins the moment people leave school. Think about it. The education system trains people to follow instructions, pass exams, and wait for someone else to tell them what to learn. Every step is structured, every answer is expected. But once school ends, the structure disappears, and so does the desire to learn. Why? Because for years, learning was associated with pressure, not purpose. It became something to escape, not embrace. Something you had to do, not something you chose to do. So when the tests stop, most people stop trying. They get a job, they fall into routine, and before they know it, they haven't learned anything new in 5 years. They confuse movement with progress. They confuse experience with growth. But doing the same thing over and over again doesn't make you better, it makes you comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of growth. Most people live on autopilot. Same thoughts, same habits, same problems. They repeat yesterday until it becomes their whole life. And the worst part? They don't even notice. They think growth is for students, not adults. They think education is for the young, not the hungry. But the truth is, growth is for the awake. Because the world doesn't care how many degrees you have. It only cares what you do with what you know. And in a world that's changing every single day, staying the same is dangerous. If you're not updating your mind, you're falling behind. Not slowly, rapidly. Technology moves fast. Industries evolve. Opportunities appear and disappear. And if you haven't trained yourself to keep learning, you'll miss them. You'll stay stuck. You'll keep asking why nothing changes without realizing you didn't change. That's what happens to the night. They stop growing. They stop reading. They stop listening. They stop questioning. They rely on what they learned 10 years ago, in a world that doesn't even exist anymore. But not you. You're choosing a different path. A path of intentional, daily learning. A path of self-education that never ends. That decision alone sets you apart. Because real learning doesn't come from classrooms. It comes from curiosity. From wanting to understand more, from staying hungry, no matter how full life gets. Ask any leader, any high performer, any master in any field, they'll tell you the same thing. They didn't get there by knowing it all. They got there by refusing to stop growing. Because the most dangerous mindset is not ignorance. It's thinking you already know enough. Let's be honest. School doesn't teach you how to master your emotions. It doesn't teach you how to build habits, handle failure, grow income, or shape your identity. It teaches you how to obey, how to conform, how to follow. But life demands creativity. It demands adaptability. It demands hunger. So if you want to grow, you have to take responsibility. You have to stop blaming the system and start building yourself. Pick up books, watch long-form content, dive into deep conversations, reflect after every experience, ask why things work, how they break, and what they mean. This is your education now, and it's lifelong. Understand this: the moment you stop learning, you start dying. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Your world becomes smaller. Your thoughts become stale. Your possibilities shrink. But the moment you decide to grow again, everything shifts. Your energy returns. Your confidence rises. Your value increases. And people feel it. They hear it in your voice. They see it in your actions. They trust it in your presence. Because growth isn't something you tell people about. It's something they can feel. So let this chapter be a reminder. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop becoming. Not because you're broken, but because you're capable of so much more. The system may have stopped teaching you, but now you teach yourself. You are your own school now, and your life is your classroom. Chapter 4. Read, watch, listen. How to learn from everything. You don't need to sit in a classroom to learn. You don't need to pay for a course or wait for someone to teach you. The real learners, the ones who grow every day, see learning in everything. Every book, every conversation, every podcast, film, quote, mistake, or moment of silence. They treat life as their university. They stay open. They stay present. And that's why they stay ahead. You don't just learn by reading textbooks or taking notes. You learn by becoming curious. Curious about the world. Curious about people. Curious about yourself. And the truth is, once you activate this mindset, you'll never run out of ways to grow. Let's start with the obvious: reading. Reading is the fastest way to borrow someone else's years of experience. When you read a good book, you're stepping into the mind of a thinker, a doer, a survivor, or a visionary. You're compressing decades into days. And you don't need to read for hours. 10 pages a day, just that. That's over 3,500 pages a year. That's 15 books. And if you choose the right ones, that can completely change how you think, decide, speak, and act. But reading isn't just about speed. It's about depth. Don't rush through pages to say you finished a book. Sit with the words. Reflect. Reread. Let them sink in. Highlight what hits. Write down what resonates. And most importantly, apply what you read. Because knowledge without action is just noise. Now let's talk about watching. Your screen time is either a weapon or a weakness. It's building you or it's draining you. Most people scroll for escape. They drown in short videos, endless entertainment, and empty trends. But those who grow, they watch with purpose. They choose content that teaches, not just entertains. A powerful documentary, a deep dive interview, an expert breakdown, these can reshape your thinking in one evening. But only if you approach them with focus. Don't multitask. Don't let it play in the background. Watch with your full attention. Take notes if you have to. Then pause, think. What did you learn? What stood out? What will you do differently? That's how you turn watching into wisdom. And now, listening. This is the most underrated skill of all. Because the world is noisy, and real listeners are rare, you can learn more by truly listening to one wise person than by talking to 100 average ones. But this isn't just about conversations. It's about audio learning, podcasts, audiobooks, long-form talks. Think about your day. You're walking, you're commuting, you're exercising. That's hours of open time where your ears are free. Use them. Every minute you spend listening to meaningful content is a minute invested in your future. You can turn your car into a classroom, your headphones into a university, your silence into transformation. And don't underestimate the power of listening to yourself. Sometimes your best learning comes from quiet, from asking yourself, what did I feel? What did I notice today? Sit with your thoughts. Reflect. That stillness, that's where insight is born. Now here's what separates casual learners from committed ones. They don't just consume content, they connect it. They read something in a book, hear something in a podcast, and watch something in a documentary, and they link the ideas. They start to see patterns, their understanding deepens, and eventually they form their own idea. That's when you stop being a student and start becoming a thinker. That's when learning becomes original. That's when your voice starts to matter. So here's what you do. Make learning visible. Create a system, a personal dashboard. Every day, write down what you read, watched, or listened to. One sentence, one lesson. That's enough. Soon you'll look back and see how far your mind has traveled. This is how you rise. Not by working more hours, but by learning with more intention. Because the world respects those who can think clearly, speak wisely, and act boldly. And you can't do any of that without feeding your mind. So feed it with books that stretch you, videos that inspire you, voices that sharpen you. And remember, it's not about how much content you consume. It's about how much growth it creates. You don't need to know everything. You just need to learn one thing today that makes you a better version of yourself tomorrow.
Chapter 5. Turning boring moments into growth moments.
There are moments in your day that seem empty. Waiting in line, sitting in traffic, washing dishes. Moments that most people waste, thinking they don't matter. But those moments, they're the secret windows of transformation, if you know how to use them. You see, most people only grow when it's convenient. When they're sitting at a desk, in a quiet place, with their favorite book or podcast. But high-level learners, they turn the ordinary into extraordinary. They turn wasted time into winning time. Because the truth is, growth doesn't need a special location. It doesn't ask for the perfect mood. It only needs one thing, your attention. Look at your daily routine. There are gaps, tiny pieces of time that you think are too small to matter. But those pieces are powerful. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. They add up. And if you train yourself to see those moments as opportunities, not interruptions, your learning never stops. You don't need a 2-hour block. You need awareness. Awareness that growth is not always loud or exciting. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's hidden. Sometimes it's in the most unexpected corners of your day. Let's break it down. You're commuting. Most people blast music or scroll endlessly. But you open an audiobook. You listen to one idea that shifts your perspective. You arrive not just at your destination, but with a sharper mind. You're folding clothes. It feels repetitive, boring, but you play a deep conversation in the background. A story, a lesson, a concept, and something clicks. Suddenly, your hands are moving, and your brain is transforming. That's how you win. That's how you multiply your time. Not by adding hours to your day, but by filling your hours with meaning. Growth moments don't always come with applause. They don't always feel exciting. But they are real, and they shape you. Think about the gym. You don't always feel strong while lifting. But those tiny reps, they change your body over time. The same happens with your mind. One insight during a walk. One reflection while brushing your teeth. One new word learned while waiting at the bank. These are mental reps, and if you stay consistent, they compound into something powerful. Let's go even deeper. Boredom is not your enemy. It's your invitation. Because in boredom, your brain is open. It's not overloaded. It's not distracted. It's searching. And that's the perfect space for growth. The average person runs from boredom. They fill it with scrolling, snacking, noise. But the rare few, they sit with it. They listen to it. They plant seeds in it. And those seeds grow into clarity, creativity, and self-mastery. So the next time you feel bored, Ask yourself, what can I learn right now? What can I practice? What can I reflect on? And you'll realize something. You're never truly stuck. You're never really wasting time, unless you choose to. Here's a simple practice. Pick one boring moment in your day. Just one. Maybe it's your morning shower, your train ride,
Your walk home.
Turn that into your personal growth zone. Every day, same time, same trigger, and feed your mind. You'll be amazed how that one moment starts shaping your thinking. Not in a week, not in a month, but slowly, steadily, permanently. This is how winners train. They find opportunity where others see nothing. They stay alert while others switch off. They squeeze wisdom out of the quiet. And over time, they build an edge that others can't understand. People ask, how do they stay so sharp, so clear, so ahead? The answer is simple. They don't wait for perfect learning moments. They create them everywhere, every day, and now you can too. Your life is full of open space. You just haven't claimed it yet. So claim it. Reclaim your waiting time. Reclaim your background time. Reclaim your transitions. Make them count. Because once you train your mind to grow in the silence, you won't just stay ahead of the crowd. You'll separate yourself from it completely. Chapter 6. Don't memorize. Think, reflect, and apply. Memorizing facts is not learning. Repeating information without understanding is not growth. Real learning happens when you think, when you reflect, when you apply what you know. But most people don't do that. They collect knowledge like trophies. They memorize quotes, repost ideas, repeat big words. But nothing changes in their actions. Nothing shifts in their choices. Because memorization is easy. Application is hard. And that's where the real transformation lives. Anyone can memorize, but few can apply. And even fewer can reflect. Because reflection requires honesty. It forces you to slow down and ask, do I really understand this? Am I living this? Has this knowledge changed the way I move through the world? That's the difference between information and wisdom. Information fills your head. Wisdom shapes your life. You don't need more facts. You need deeper thinking. Let's say you read a powerful book. You highlight 10 great quotes. You post about it. You feel smart. But 2 days later, you're reacting the same way, speaking the same way, thinking the same way. What happened? You consumed, but you didn't absorb. Because real learning is not passive. It's active. It's intentional. It's messy. You have to break the idea apart. Test it. Challenge it. Ask where it fits in your life. Ask what it replaces. Ask what it demands from you. And then live it. You can read about discipline all day, but until you apply it to your morning routine, it's just noise. You can hear speeches about confidence, but until you speak up when you're scared, it's just a feeling. You can watch hours of content about success, but until you act on one idea, you're still in the same place. That's why thinking matters more than memorizing. Because thinking brings ideas to life. It makes them yours. And when an idea becomes yours, when it moves from your head to your heart, it begins to shape your future. So how do you build this habit? Start small. After every lesson, don't just move to the next video, next chapter, next quote. Stop. Ask yourself, what did I just learn? How does it connect to my life? What can I change today because of it? Write it down. Speak it out. Teach it to someone. This process of reflection is like digestion. It's how your mind breaks down knowledge and turns it into strength. Think of it like food. You don't grow by eating more. You grow by absorbing more. And your mind works the same way. It's not about how much you consume. It's about how well you process. Here's another secret. You don't need new information every day. Sometimes you need the same truth, repeated, until it clicks, until it becomes automatic, until it rewrites your behavior. So revisit what matters. Go deep on the basics. Don't rush to move forward if you haven't applied what you've already learned, because progress without depth is fragile. It breaks when life gets hard. But understanding lasts. It guides you when you're tired. It reminds you when you're lost. It anchors you when everything around you changes, and you can only reach that level when you choose to reflect, not react. Slow thinking is your superpower, and in a world that's addicted to speed, the one who thinks deeply wins. So the next time you learn something, don't rush to repeat it. Sit with it. Let it challenge you. Let it stretch you. Then walk it out in real life. That's how you rise. Quietly, steadily, powerfully. Because when you think, reflect, and apply, you don't just change what you know. You change who you are. And when you change who you are, you change what's possible for you. Chapter 7. Educate yourself for real-world problems. Books are powerful. Videos can teach you a lot. Courses are helpful. But life is the greatest teacher of all. The world outside your door is not theory. It's not multiple choice. It's not always fair or predictable. It's messy, unscripted, real. And if you want to stay ahead of 99% of, you need to train yourself to learn from the world around you, not just from the words on a page, because the people who grow the fastest are the ones who learn from everything, especially when it's uncomfortable. They learn from failure. They learn from stress. They learn from awkward moments, hard conversations, and tough feedback. They don't just collect knowledge, they build adaptability. And that's what separates the powerful from the passive. Let's talk about something most people miss: emotional learning. Life doesn't teach you with a syllabus. It teaches you with disappointment, rejection, loss, and change. You lose a job. You get betrayed. You fail at something you cared about. Most people break under that pressure. But learners, they ask different questions. They don't ask, why me? They ask, what's this teaching me? That shift changes everything. Because every real-world problem is a lesson in disguise. It's a lesson in resilience, a lesson in patience, a lesson in communication, self-awareness, courage. And these lessons are more important than any textbook. No school teaches you how to hold your mind together during a crisis. No class prepares you for what to do when everything you planned falls apart. But life teaches it. And if you pay attention, if you stay present, you grow stronger through it. Real-world education means you stop waiting for a perfect moment to learn. It means you stop blaming others and start owning your experience. You see, pain is not just something to survive. It's something to study. Look back on your life. Your deepest growth didn't come when everything was easy. It came when you were under pressure, when you were unsure, when you had to figure it out on your own. That's when your mind woke up. That's when your character took shape. So don't avoid the hard parts of life. Don't numb them. Don't rush through them. Study them. Learn from them. Let them refine you. That's how you turn setbacks into setups. And here's another key. Educate yourself through people, not influencers, not just authors, but the people right around you. Your parents, your colleagues, your mentors, even your enemies. Watch how they handle pressure. Watch how they treat others. Listen closely, not just to their words, but to their patterns. Everyone is teaching you something, even if it's what not to do. That's how real-world learners grow. They observe, they decode, they adapt. They don't judge every experience as good or bad. They ask, what does this show me? What does this reveal about the world and about me? And slowly, they build street smarts, mental toughness, clarity in chaos. They learn to see through people. They learn to respond instead of react. They learn how to move with wisdom, not just knowledge. This type of learning doesn't come with a certificate, but it gives you something more valuable: discernment. And in today's world, discernment is everything. It helps you see through lies. It helps you feel the energy of a room. It helps you make smart decisions fast. That's the kind of edge no one can take from you. So stop waiting for the right course, the right content, the right moment. Life is happening now. Start learning from it. From how your boss speaks to you, from how your friend handles stress, from how strangers react under pressure, from how you feel when things don't go your way. It's all a classroom, but only if you stay awake. This is what the top 1% know. They don't just learn to pass. They learn to prepare. They prepare their minds to handle anything. They study their reactions. They study people. They study patterns, and they use all of it to grow stronger, smarter, clearer. This is real-world education. It's not soft. It's not easy. But it's real, and it will carry you further than any diploma ever could. Chapter 8. How to learn from people better than you. There's a hidden power most people never tap into. It's not in books. It's not in YouTube videos. It's not in courses or classes. It's in people. Specifically, people who are ahead of you, smarter, wiser, more experienced, more disciplined, more successful. But here's the problem. Most people let their ego get in the way. They feel uncomfortable around greatness. They feel small. They feel insecure. So instead of learning, they compare. Instead of observing, they judge. And instead of growing, they shrink. But you're different. You're here because you want to rise. You want to stretch. You want to sit at the table with people who know more than you and absorb everything. That takes humility. And humility is the first key to learning from the greats. When you drop your ego, you make space for wisdom. Understand this. People ahead of you are not your competition. They're your roadmap. They're living proof that a better version of you is possible. They've made the mistakes. They've walked the miles. They faced the fear and kept going. So don't be afraid to learn from them. Be hungry. Watch how they talk. Watch how they move. Watch how they respond under pressure. Greatness always leaves clues, but you have to be close enough and open enough to notice them. You don't need to impress them. You need to observe them, ask questions. Not to sound smart, but to understand. Then listen. Really listen. Because sometimes the most powerful lessons don't come from what they teach directly, but from how they live. You can read 50 books on leadership, or you can spend 15 minutes watching a true leader handle conflict. That experience will teach you more than any page. You can scroll through quotes about confidence, or you can observe how a confident person walks into a room without saying a word and commands presence. That's education. That's mentorship, even if it's silent. And here's the truth. You don't always need personal access. You don't have to know them in real life. You can learn from them through books, interviews, speeches, stories. Study their patterns. Study their habits. Study their mindset. The way they start their day. The way they speak. The decisions they make under pressure. Take notes. Copy what works. Then adjust it for your own life. This is how great people learn. They don't try to reinvent everything. They model what already works. Then they make it their own. And don't just study their success, study their failures. Because how someone bounces back says more than how high they climb. When you learn how others failed, you avoid the same traps. You move smarter. You fall less. And when you do fall, you know how to rise. Another powerful way to learn is through conversations. Sit down with someone who's been where you want to go. Ask them what they wish they knew earlier. Ask them what they would do differently. Then just listen. You'll save years of mistakes in minutes of listening. That's leverage. That's wisdom. That's how you accelerate your growth. But here's the final piece. Don't just admire people who are better than you. Don't just follow them. Apply what they've taught you. Use it. Test it. Live it. Because knowledge without action is nothing. But knowledge that gets used, that becomes power. So the next time you meet someone who's ahead of you, pause. Don't compete. Connect. Don't compare. Learn. Don't retreat. Study. Because if you keep learning from those above you, It's only a matter of time before you rise to their level, and then go beyond it. That's how you stay ahead of 99% of people. By staying a student, by staying teachable, by staying humble, even when you start winning. Chapter 9. Learn to learn fast, not just read fast. In today's world, information is everywhere. Books, videos, podcasts, articles, courses, you're surrounded by it. But the real skill is not collecting more. It's learning faster. It's processing deeply and applying quickly. Because knowledge is not the advantage anymore. Speed of learning is. The people who rise fastest aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who learn, adapt, and move faster than everyone else. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think learning fast means reading fast. Finishing books in 2 days, watching videos at 2x speed, jumping from one course to the next. That's not fast learning. That's shallow consumption. Real fast learners don't rush through knowledge. They move through it with focus. They absorb it fully, extract the gold, and move on with clarity. They don't aim to remember everything. They aim to remember what matters. Because your brain doesn't need more content. It needs more connection. Let's start with this truth. Learning fast starts with learning how to focus. When your mind is scattered, nothing sticks. But when you give something your full attention, even for 10 minutes, you absorb it faster and deeper. That's why step 1 to learning fast is single task. Turn off the noise. Silence the background. Be present with the material. Whether it's a podcast, a book, a lecture, lock in. Because 10 minutes of focused learning beats 1 hour of distracted scrolling every time. Now step 2. Engage with what you're learning. Don't just read, talk back to the page. Don't just watch, pause, think, reflect. Ask yourself, what does this mean? How can I use this? Where does it connect to what I already know? The more active your mind becomes during learning, the faster it works. Your brain loves patterns. It learns by association. So instead of trying to remember random facts, connect new ideas to what you already understand. Learning something about productivity, tie it to your own daily routine. Learning about psychology, think of a real situation in your life that fits. This creates mental hooks. The more hooks, the faster your brain grabs and keeps the knowledge. Next, simplify. Great learners don't just understand things, they explain them simply. If you can't teach it in a sentence, you don't know it well enough. So after you learn something new, speak it out loud. Try to explain it like you're teaching a child. This forces clarity, and clarity speeds up learning. Another powerful technique, a spaced repetition. Instead of reading something once and forgetting it, come back to it. Revisit the key ideas in a few days. This refreshes your memory, deepens the understanding, and makes the knowledge stick long term. You don't have to remember everything. Just remember the right things, deeply. Fast learners also know how to filter. They don't waste time on fluff. They look for signal, not noise. When reading a book, they search for the core ideas. When watching a video, they pause when the speaker says something worth thinking about. When listening to a podcast, they rewind the moments that carry weight. It's not about getting to the end. It's about getting the value. Now let's talk about mindset. Fast learning has less to do with intelligence and more to do with belief. If you keep telling yourself you're slow, that you forget easily, that learning is hard, you're building walls in your mind. But if you train yourself to believe, I can learn anything if I focus, simplify, and practice, you'll be shocked how quickly your brain responds. Confidence increases capacity, doubt kills speed. So trust yourself. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stay engaged. Here's a truth no one talks about. Most people don't learn slowly because they're slow. They learn slowly because they're distracted. Fix your focus, and you fix your speed. And remember, learning fast is only powerful if you also act fast. Because learning without action creates mental clutter. But learning followed by action? that creates transformation. So the next time you read something powerful, do something with it. The next time you watch something insightful, apply it. Use your knowledge to move, not just to think. Because motion cements learning. Application creates memory. That's how the greats do it. They don't just consume, they convert. They don't just know, they use, and they move faster, not because they're gifted, but because they're focused. You can do this too. Chapter 10. The power of deep work and focused study. Most people never reach their true potential. Not because they lack talent, not because they don't have enough time, but because they don't know how to focus. They live in a world of noise, pings, notifications, tabs, messages. Their attention is scattered into 1,000 pieces, and in that chaos, their brilliance gets buried. But if you study the top performers, the deep thinkers, the game changers, you'll notice one thing they all have in common. They protect their focus like it's gold. Because it is. Focus time is the most valuable currency you have. 1 hour of deep, uninterrupted concentration is worth more than 5 hours of shallow, distracted work. That's the power of deep work. Deep work is when your brain locks in. It's when you shut out the world and give your full energy to one task. It's when you're fully present. Time slows down. Ideas get clear. Progress becomes visible. In this state, you don't just learn faster, you build mastery. But deep work doesn't happen by accident. You have to create it. You have to fight for it. Because everything around you is designed to break your focus. Your phone, your environment, even your habits. So the first step to deep work: eliminate distractions. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Block websites that pull your attention. Because if you're constantly reacting to noise, you'll never create anything meaningful. The next step: time blocking. You need to schedule focused sessions into your day. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Pick a time. Pick a place. Commit. It could be 30 minutes in the morning, an hour before bed, a quiet block in the afternoon. The point is consistency. Train your brain to enter focus mode at that time every day. Soon, it becomes automatic. That space becomes sacred. That time becomes non-negotiable. And in those focused windows, you grow faster than 99% of people who are still multitasking. Now let's talk about what you study. Not all work deserves deep focus. Reserve your best energy for your most important learning. Study ideas that stretch you. Wrestle with complex thoughts. Write, reflect, analyze. Don't just consume, engage. Because deep work is not about watching 5 videos back to back. It's about going deep on one powerful concept until you own it. When you study this way, you don't just remember more. You change how you think. You begin to connect dots others don't even see. You become more strategic, more creative, more confident. Because you're building your mental foundation on depth, not speed. And here's a secret most people don't know. Deep work is hard at first. Your brain will resist. You'll feel restless. You'll want to quit. That's normal. We've been trained to crave quick hits of dopamine. Scroll, like, swipe, skip. So when you try to focus, your brain screams for distraction. But the more you push through that discomfort, the stronger your focus becomes. It's like a muscle. The more you train it, the more powerful it gets. Eventually, deep work becomes your superpower, and people start to wonder how you do so much, so well. But the truth is, you're just doing one thing, deeply. And that depth makes you dangerous. Because while others are jumping from task to task, you're building real expertise, real insight, real value. And that's what the world pays attention to. Let's get practical now. Before every deep work session, ask yourself, what is the one thing I need to understand better? What do I need to create, finish, or figure out? Then, clear your space. Set a timer, and dive in. No multitasking. No background noise. Just you and the work. Afterward, reflect. What did you learn? What breakthrough did you have? Do this every day, even for just 30 minutes, and you'll start to feel different. You'll think sharper, speak clearer, work smarter. You'll stop reacting to life and start designing it. And as your ability to focus deepens, you'll notice something else. You'll crave quiet. You'll respect slowness. You'll begin to value depth over hype. And in that space, you'll find the real you, the focused you, the powerful you, the future you. Chapter 11. Stop consuming. Start practicing. You've read the books. You've watched the videos. You've taken the notes. You've filled your head with motivation and knowledge. But still, your life hasn't changed much. Why? Because knowing is not the same as doing. And most people stay stuck. Not from a lack of information, but from a lack of application. We live in an age of unlimited content. Podcasts, quotes, tutorials, masterclasses. But while everyone's consuming more than ever, very few are practicing. And that's the problem. Because the truth is, you only grow when you do, not when you scroll, not when you save something for later, not when you nod your head and say, that's deep. You grow when you move, when you take the idea and use it, when you apply it, messily, imperfectly, and with full intent. Let's be honest. Consuming content feels productive. It feels like growth. But if you never practice what you've learned, you're just collecting ideas, not transforming your life. You don't need 50 more books. You need to act on the last one you read. You don't need another course. You need to implement what you already know. Because information doesn't change your life. Implementation does. And the longer you wait to apply, the more knowledge turns into clutter. Your brain gets overwhelmed. You start to forget what you learned. You lose momentum, and you go back to default mode, scrolling, thinking, wishing. But it doesn't have to be that way. The shift is simple. Stop overloading, start executing. One idea at a time, one step at a time. You read about morning routines? Build one. You learned about communication, practice it in your next conversation. You watched something on self-discipline, try it today. Small actions, repeated daily, create massive change. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to move. And here's something powerful. The moment you start practicing, you learn faster. Because real learning happens when theory meets experience. You find out what works for you. You see how ideas play out in your real world. You begin to adjust, adapt, and sharpen your understanding. Practice turns information into intuition. You don't just remember anymore, you become. Want to be confident? Practice speaking when your voice shakes. Want to be fit? Practice moving your body daily, even if it's just 10 minutes. Want to be disciplined? Practice saying no to things that don't align. Growth isn't found in more knowledge. It's found in more reps. You wouldn't read 100 books on swimming and expect to know how to swim. So why do we think we can read about success without getting wet? You have to step into the pool. Yes, you'll stumble. Yes, it'll feel awkward. Yes, it might be uncomfortable. But that's where real change begins. And here's the beautiful thing. Action creates clarity. You don't need to have it all figured out before you begin. Just begin, and the next step will reveal itself. When you practice, you start to build trust with yourself. You start to prove that you're someone who follows through. And that belief, that's more powerful than any information. Because once you believe in your ability to act, you become unstoppable. Now, here's something to remember. You don't need to apply everything. Just choose one lesson per day and live it. That's it. Let the rest wait. Don't worry about missing out. Worry about not stepping up. Because while most people are drowning in content, you'll be rising through action. You'll be ahead, not because you know more, but because you do more. And the more you do, the more you'll realize how little you need to keep moving forward. You don't need the perfect plan. You need practice. You don't need motivation. You need motion. So from this point on, Ask yourself, did I practice something I learned today? If not, stop consuming. Pick one idea and do something with it. That's how you build momentum. That's how you build mastery. That's how you build a life that reflects what you know. Chapter 12. Replace distractions with education. Distractions are the silent killer of dreams. They don't scream. They don't knock you over. They don't show up as enemies. They slip in quietly, disguised as entertainment. Updates and just 5 more minutes. And before you know it, hours are gone. Focus is gone. Momentum is gone. Not because you didn't have goals, but because your attention got hijacked. If you want to rise above the crowd, if you want to grow daily, if you want to stay ahead of now, then you need to do one simple, powerful thing. Trade distraction for education. Not once, every day, because your life is being shaped by what you give your attention to. Your phone isn't the problem. Your mindless use of it is. Your entertainment isn't evil. Your dependence on it is. You're not weak. You're just distracted. But once you see the pattern, you can change the result. Let's be honest. You don't need more time. You need more intentional time. Take a look at your day. How much of it is spent scrolling? How much of it is filled with background noise? How much of it goes to low-level, low-value inputs? Now imagine if even half that time was spent reading, thinking, practicing, learning. Your life would look completely different in just 30 days. That's not an exaggeration. That's mathematics. 10 minutes a day of education is over 60 hours a year. Now double that, triple that. And now you see why the few rise and the rest stay stuck. The real question isn't, how do I get better? It's, what am I willing to let go of so I can rise? Because education and distraction can't live in the same space. One feeds you, the other drains you. You have to choose. Let's get practical. Start by creating what I call sacred spaces. Pick certain times in your day that are non-negotiable. Morning routine, midday reset, evening reflection. In those pockets, replace distraction with depth. Instead of waking up and grabbing your phone, open a book. Instead of filling silence with random videos, play a lecture or podcast that builds you. Instead of escaping every time you're bored, sit down and write, think, learn. This isn't about becoming a monk. This is about reclaiming your mind. Every minute spent on education is a deposit into your future. Every minute spent on distraction is a debt you'll feel later. So protect your energy, curate your content, control your space. If your room, your desk, your phone, if your environment is built for distraction, you will lose. But if you redesign that space for focus, you will win without trying so hard. Make it hard to get distracted. Make it easy to go deep. Remove unnecessary apps. Unfollow noise. Turn off notifications. Organize your space. Because clutter in your environment creates clutter in your mind. And cluttered minds don't grow. They react. They stall. They survive. You're not here to survive. You're here to grow. Here's another mindset shift. Treat your attention like money. You wouldn't give your money to every random stranger. So why give your attention to every random notification, ad, headline? Your attention is limited, and the world is trying to buy it. So protect it. Invest it. Use it to build yourself, not break yourself. You'll start to notice something. The less distracted you are, the more peace you feel. The more you focus, the more control you gain. The more you learn, the more power you hold. You stop chasing every trend. You stop reacting to every update. You start choosing what you feed your mind. And that choice changes everything. This is what the top 1% do differently. They don't let the world tell them what to care about. They choose what matters. They focus on it. They go deep. And over time, they build a mind so sharp, so clear, so educated, that the noise doesn't touch them anymore. You can build that too. One decision at a time, one space at a time, 1 hour at a time. So today, Choose. Replace the scroll with a sentence. Replace the noise with a note. Replace the junk with something real. Because you're not just learning to grow, you're learning to take control. Chapter 13. From Knowledge to Execution, the Real Skill. Knowledge is power. You've heard that before. But the truth? Knowledge isn't power. Execution is. Knowledge is only potential. It becomes powerful the moment you do something with it. And that's where most people fall short. They consume. They understand. They even get inspired. But they don't act. They don't move. They don't execute. And so, nothing changes. If you want to separate yourself from 99% of people, this is the place to start. Because while most are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence, you'll be out there executing, learning by doing, improving by trying, winning by showing up again and again. This is the difference maker. Execution is a mindset. It's the decision to move before you feel ready, to start with what you know and figure out the rest along the way. You see, knowledge without execution creates frustration. You know what you should be doing, but you're not doing it. And that gap, that's where self-doubt grows. That's where procrastination lives. That's where dreams die quietly. But when you take action, any action, you break the cycle. You silence the overthinking. You stop waiting. You start building. Even the smallest step forward starts a chain reaction. You read a book? Great. Now do one thing from it. You learned a strategy? Good. Now test it. Mess it up. Adjust it. That's where confidence comes from. Not from knowing everything, but from knowing you'll figure it out as you go. Execution is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. Let me give you something practical. Every time you learn something new, ask yourself, what's the first action I can take within 24 hours? That's it. One action. Right now. Today. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be real. You watched a video about productivity. Block 30 minutes tomorrow for deep work. You heard something about habits. Set one reminder and start that new habit tonight. You read a quote that shook you. Write it down and live it for one day. Because without execution, inspiration fades. But with execution, inspiration becomes transformation. The most successful people in the world, they're not the smartest. They're the most consistent. They do what needs to be done, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. They don't just know, they do. And because they do, they become. Execution also teaches you more than any lesson ever could. When you act, you get feedback. You learn faster. You grow faster. You build real experience, not just theory. And over time, that experience turns into wisdom. You stop guessing. You start knowing. You stop hoping. You start creating. But to get there, you have to build the habit. The habit of action. The habit of motion. The habit of starting before you're ready. Here's what that looks like. Every day, choose one thing you've learned and take action on it. Just one. Not 10 things. Not a full plan. One. Do that every day for 30, and you'll be shocked at what happens. Your confidence will rise. Your focus will sharpen. Your results will show up. Because you're no longer just a student. You've become a builder, a doer, a finisher. And that shift, that's what transforms lives. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I already know this, stop. Knowing isn't enough. Ask yourself, am I doing this? If not, it's time to start. Today, right now. Not after the next video. Not after one more plan. Now. Because execution is the bridge between where you are and who you're meant to be. No one's coming to build that bridge for you. But you can. Step by step. Move by move. Action by action. Chapter 14. The Circle of Self-Education. Repeat and refine. Most people treat learning like a finish line. They think, once I understand this, I'm done. They read a book, take a course, complete a chapter, and they move on, never looking back. But real self-education doesn't move in a straight line. It moves in a circle. Learn, apply, reflect, refine, repeat. That's the rhythm of growth. That's the circle that never ends, because the moment it ends, your evolution stops. If you want to stay ahead of 99% of people, you need to live in that circle. You need to repeat and refine every lesson, every habit, every action, because mastery isn't about doing something once. It's about coming back to it again and again, each time with deeper understanding. You don't outgrow the basics. You deepen them. You don't need 100 new ideas. You need 10 great ones, repeated and refined until they become part of you. Think of the best performers in the world. The athletes, the musicians, the thinkers. They don't skip the fundamentals. They return to them. They sharpen them. They revisit them until every movement, every note, every decision becomes instinct. That's what the circle of self-education does. It turns knowledge into wisdom. It turns habits into identity. It turns you from a student into a master. Let's break the circle down. Step 1. Learn. You expose yourself to new ideas, new insights, new tools. You read, watch, listen, study. You fill your mind with high-quality information. Step 2. Apply. You take that information and bring it to life. You test it in your real world. You try, you fail, you adjust. You don't wait to feel ready. You move. Step 3. Reflect. This is where most people skip, but this is where the growth multiplies. You stop and ask, what worked? What didn't? What felt easy? What felt forced? You write it down. You speak it out. You let the experience teach you something deeper than the content ever could. Step 4. Refine. Now you tweak. You simplify. You adjust. You remove what doesn't serve you. You double down on what does. This is where real clarity begins. Your approach gets sharper. Your mindset gets cleaner. Your actions get more effective. And then you repeat the cycle, back to learning. But now, with more wisdom, with more self-awareness, with more real-life understanding behind every concept. This is how you become someone others can't catch. Because while they're jumping from trend to trend, you're going deeper, stronger, faster. You're not rushing through knowledge. You're building layers of learning. And each time you go around the circle, you're not in the same place. You're higher. You've grown. You've evolved. It's like climbing a spiral staircase. You may feel like you're returning to the same steps, but every lap takes you higher. Now here's the truth. This cycle isn't exciting every time. It's not always fun. It's often slow, quiet, invisible. But this is where excellence is built. In the repetition, in the reflection, in the refinement. So make it your system. After every book, ask, what did I learn? What can I apply? What did I learn from the application? How can I improve it next time? After every deep conversation, ask, what stood out? How does it challenge me? What changes because of it? After every project, win or failure, stop. Don't move on too fast. Because that next level you're chasing, it's hidden inside the moment you're rushing past. Don't chase more, chase better. And better comes from going back, refining, sharpening, owning. The best learners in the world aren't in a hurry. They're in a system, a rhythm, a circle. And that circle never ends. Because growth never ends. You can start that today. Create your own feedback loop. Create your own review system. Create your own rhythm of growth. And follow it every day. You'll be amazed how far you go, how fast you improve, how confident you become. Not because you know everything, but because you've learned how to learn for life. The next and final chapter, it's your reminder that this is not a race, that growth is not a phase, that education is not a moment, it's your edge forever. Let's close this journey with power. Let's finish strong. Chapter 15. Keep learning, keep winning. Your growth never ends. You made it, not to the end of a book, but to the beginning of a new way of living. Because this journey wasn't about reaching a finish line. It was about building a mindset that refuses to settle, refuses to stay the same, refuses to stop growing. And now you understand something most people never do. Education isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. You're not learning to pass a test. You're learning to pass your old self. You're not growing to impress others. You're growing to unlock what's already inside you. And every single day you wake up and choose to feed your mind, to stretch, to think, to reflect, to apply, you take another step forward. And that step, it counts. Because while the world gets louder and more distracted, you're becoming quieter, clearer, and more focused. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding. You're not chasing every trend. You're building something real inside you. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what keeps you ahead. Not luck, not status, consistency. It's what most people lack. They start strong and fade. They get excited and then disappear. But not you. You've chosen to build what lasts. You've chosen the harder path, the deeper path, the path that few walk, but the one that always leads somewhere great. And here's your final truth. There is no final level. There's no point where you know it all. No moment where growth is complete. No peak that says you've arrived. Because the best in the world, they're still learning, still practicing, still reflecting, still humble enough to ask, what's next? And that's what makes them legends. That can be you. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, the life you want isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for your next move. So what do you do from here? Simple. You keep learning. You keep showing up. You keep repeating the process. You reread your notes. You rewatch your favorite lectures. You reapply what worked and tweak what didn't. You refine your thoughts. You sharpen your actions. You protect your focus. And every single time the world tries to pull you back into comfort, you remind yourself, I've chosen to grow. Because comfort doesn't lead to greatness. Repetition does. Reflection does. Execution does. And now, you're equipped to do all three. Every chapter you've heard, every lesson you've felt, these are not just words. They are tools. Tools to help you navigate life with more clarity, confidence, and strength than ever before. And whenever you forget, whenever you feel stuck, whenever the noise creeps back in, come back. Come back to the basics. Come back to yourself. Come back to the process. Because your edge isn't in being perfect. Your edge is in being consistent, being aware, being hungry to grow. No matter what, you are now part of the few who understand. Real success is internal. It's earned in silence. It's built in private. And it's maintained through education every single day. So don't stop. Not when you're tired. Not when you're discouraged. Not when you've already improved. Keep going. Keep refining. Keep growing. Because when you keep learning, you keep winning. And when you outgrow your old self, again and again and again, that's when the world takes notice. But more importantly, that's when you realize you were never chasing success. You were becoming it. This is your edge now. Live it. Own it. Grow with it. And remember, your growth never ends.